All right, we are live for the 36th episode of the
Let's Go podcast. We are happy to come out with another HSL fall basketball podcast. We're really getting to the swing of things here. Just closed out week 3. We are beyond joy to be joined by the one and only Dylan Kaufmann, captain of the Vly Vipers. We have a couple of really, I would say, controversial, maybe touchy, sensitive, but the HSL, we're open to all feedback, and all feedback includes feedback that might not be the best feedback. So let's see how this podcast goes. I'm very intrigued, and Dave, you could take it away.
So I'm going to set the table by saying that the Vly Vipers have a lot of talented guys who I'm friendly with from Shul, but they got off to a rough 0-2 start, and they felt that the reffing was very inconsistent in the first 2 games. They're the recipient of a lot of bad calls. But let's put that on the back burner for now, because game 3 was coming down the pike, and I saw Dylan on Shabbos, and we were talking about. He said he's bringing down Noah Aaron. Yeah, he's bringing down somebody else. And I said, and I knew the team you were playing. I said, I think you guys have a good shot at winning, and I was actually really hoping that you guys would pull one out and go 1-2. But instead, it was pretty much the worst possible outcome for Game 3 in the HSL fall basketball. So, Dylan, why don't you tell us what happened in last night's game?
So it was a good contest. It was a lot of back and forth. We were, by 7-8. Then it was tied. We went down. We came back. Overall, I would say it was a pretty competitive game. That came down to the wire. Harrison had a phenomenal game, just hitting the craziest shots. He hit a buzzer beater with 3.8 seconds left.
What's his last name, Harrison?
Feldman.
Okay, yeah. And he's moving to Forest Hills, right?
He hit a crazy. He doesn't live here yet. He's gonna be living here in December. But and he couldn't make it to the last game. He was here for the first game where we pretty much got destroyed. Which, okay, we'll accept defeat. But he hit a crazy shot to tie the game, to go into overtime. And at that point, David Margulies also was playing for us. He's officially on the roster. He had to leave because he got roughed in the face with his glasses. Yeah, so I don't even know if he had a concussion. I don't think he did, but
he's a good player. He's a very good player.
Yeah, he's very good. So between him, Harrison had to leave because he doesn't live here yet, and he had work the next day.
Yet is he moving?
What?
Is he moving? You said not. Doesn't live here yet.
He's not. He's getting married in December, but he has an apartment here, and he'll be moving here after he gets married. So
awesome. Okay.
So he had to leave. Margot had to leave, and we were, put in a tough position to accept a 2-minute overtime, which is against the rules. It's for the first overtime, it's 3 minutes officially, and every overtime after that is 2 minutes. Correct. So I guess I'll end with that because that's really where all this controversy started.
Yeah, I'll expound on it a little bit. And again, as we've always been on the HSL podcast, we've been extremely, I guess the right word is, we're very honest with our crowd. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to pretend like, we're another league in southern Jersey who is all roses, where we go through I'm just joking. I got, when I made that comment about Brescher and FM home loans the other week, I got a lot of feedback from a lot of guys like, make sure Brescher doesn't get a hold of this. He doesn't like people forcing him to sponsor stuff. I'm like, I was just joking. Anyways, this is, I guess, basically what Dylan said. To expound on a little more, so it was a fantastic game. A buzzer 3 to send it into overtime. Fantastic shot. Almost a half-court shot, fading away. There are a couple of really, and I was there, and listen, refs have hard jobs. It's not easy to be a ref. There are a couple of very, and refs aren't perfect. They're human just like we are, right? But it happened to be there are a couple of calls in a row that was really, really not such great calls and back-to-back. And it happened at the very end of the game. So the team that the Vly Vipers and Dylan were playing, CTC, had a couple of calls go against them very late. So they're very frustrated. And combining that with the fact that, what's the guy's name again, Dylan, that we were just talking about? Who hit that 3?
Oh, Harrison.
Harrison.
He's about to be. He's about to hop on the pod.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're excited to have Harrison on. But so the fact that combined out that Harrison crazy buzzer 3, fadeaway, deep 3, they're very on edge. So as regulation ended, Harrison, welcome.
Here he is. Here's the boss.
We were just talking about your big time buzzer 3 to send it into overtime. So after Harrison nailed that 3, combining with a couple of unfortunate ref calls in at the end of the game, CTC was very, very up in arms, to say the least. They were very upset. I wanted to call the game to give a little bit of a backstory. Unfortunately, we've been going overtime with our gym, and the gym is not so happy with us. And I try to explain. I didn't get through to the guy I'm in touch with yet, but I tried to explain to the manager in the building that when you're playing 3 basketball games in a row, a team can't just come onto a court right after a game is over and start the game right away. They got to be able to shoot around. They got to be able to practice. They need, like, if we have the gym from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11, we're not finishing at 10 or 11, because even if the game takes 50 minutes, a team needs 10, 15 minutes to warm up. So I actually didn't get on the phone yet with the gym manager, but I'm going to. Regardless, I felt in the moment that I had to call this game a tie. We were already 15, 20 minutes over the allotted time we were allowed. The gym, as it is, were upset at me. I didn't want to get thrown out of the gym. The other team is furious. They're pissed. They're pissed because the referee calls. I'm sure they were pissed because they gave the game away on the 3-pointer. They're upset because, the game before their game went into overtime, went 25 minutes over, so aren't they allowed the same amount of time? All valid concerns, but I was ready to call the game. This is where things get tricky, and I'll spell things out very clearly. From CTC's perspective, which is the team that the Fly Vipers, Dylan and Harrison played against, Dylan's team agreed to play. Now, I know Dylan will argue on that, but, when I was walking off the court ready to call it a tie, there were a few guys from the bench that were saying, no, if they want to play, I'm game. Let's do it. Let's play overtime. So I walked over to CTC and I said, listen, if you guys are down to do it, I'll do 2 minutes. Now, I said 2 minutes knowing that the overtime is 3 minutes. I just wanted to get in a subsequential amount of time. I feel like a 1 minute overtime is not a thing. People might argue 2 minutes not a thing either, which Dylan could very well argue after I'm done talking. But I just wanted to get in more than one possession for each team in a sense. So I told both teams, I said, if you're willing to go ahead and do it and risk losing the gym, then okay, let's go. Hopefully nothing happens. That's CTC's perspective. They were ready to go. They got on the court. They were ready to play the game. I got on the phone with Dylan, and Dylan's perspective is that, CTC lost. They lost it. They absolutely lost their marbles. They were flipping out. And the guys on Dylan's team, which most of them aren't even regulars, sort of were intimidated / bullied / felt bad to sit there on the side while the other team was losing it and going ape that they should continue. They then were sort of forced, in a sense, verbally, to play the game. And combined with the fact that officially the rules have the first overtime being 3 minutes, so playing a 2-minute overtime isn't really a valid overtime, being that it's not a 3-minute regulation overtime as the first overtime is supposed to be. The second overtime is supposed to start at 2 minutes. So I think that's both sides. I think that's the clarity that I've gotten on it. We're working on solutions, and I'm happy to announce before we get into this more, we might actually have a solution that will be both teams will be happy with, and will not impact the rest of the league at all negatively. But I'm glad to get more into that, I guess. Dave, I don't know if you have anything to add, thoughts on that before we get to Dylan and Harrison?
Dylan, who I'm good friends with, but I've made my position clear, and I told Dylan earlier that I had a very similar situation in softball in the spring where, talk about out of control. I was cursing out the umpire, and, I was really ticked because a game went overtime. And we had a guy who had to leave the game early, which left us with 9, and 10 on 9 in softball. There's, just like basketball, 5 on 4 is a huge advantage. The advantage is smaller in softball.
I wouldn't say it's as big as basketball,
No.
But it's definitely, there's something, yeah.
Right. So, so I said, we're past the 2-hour mark. One of my guys had to leave. Avi's there, and Avi says to the ump, this is the rule. And the ump says, no, this is my game right now, which is also something interesting we can get into. Whose game is it? Is it the ump's game or the commissioner's game? So once you have a commissioner overruling an ump at games, that's also a messy situation. Right. So that's another complicated thing we have to iron out. Either way, my team takes
a very messy situation, I should add. Not just it's a lot of issues.
Yeah, so my team takes the field. We ultimately lose by a run. Of course, the ball is hit right to the vacated spot. So then, it's funny. He's actually Murray Silber. After the game, I was texting with Murray Silber, and he said, "Look, you take the field. That's it. You're agreeing to play by the rules. Pull your team off the field. They may call it a forfeit. But once you agree to those terms, And I thought, with 6 months hindsight, and Dylan, maybe you'll see it the same in 6 months, maybe you'll see it differently in 6 months. I think once you guys step back onto the court, you subjected yourself to the rule that I know you're saying there are no rules, they're not keeping to the rules, but I'm saying the commissioner said, okay, we're going to do a 2-minute overtime. You step back on the court.
He didn't read the fine print in the rules that says it's 3 minutes. That's the only constructive criticism. Between that and the fact that two of my guys had to leave when they were not the other team.
What do you think about my point?
By the way, wait. The other team was not accepting a tiebreaker. So it's either we play to their 2-minute overtime because that's what they wanted, or they weren't accepting a tie. At that point, they weren't accepting a tie.
In retrospect, which again, it shows how people get so fluffed in their mind. And I was thinking about this last night, and believe it or not, I take this stuff, as you guys know, this is my full-time, it's my full-time job, the HSL. I don't have anything else. This is my living. So I take this stuff very seriously. And in general, when people are, again, being very honest, I feel like people are upset at me. I know it's not personal, but when they're upset at me, I have a very, very hard time dealing with that. When I know someone's upset at me, I cannot function until I know that I solved the issue to some extent where they're not upset anymore. So in general, I have that issue. But now that I'm dealing with my livelihood here, I was laying in bed last night and I was thinking about it. I couldn't stop, and I had a dream. And in my dream, the whole situation replayed itself. And after the game ended, I said, "Guys, I'm sorry, we don't have time for overtime. We'll pick it up before your next game, or we'll cut." Why didn't I just say that? What do you guys have got? Why didn't I just say we'll do a regular overtime starting? We can't do it now, unfortunately. It sucks, but don't worry, I'll make it up to you. We'll do an overtime. It's not like softball where
I probably would have agreed to that, but at the same time, in that moment, you have overtime with, your legs. You're exhausted. Yeah. You can't play overtime with fresh legs. That's right. It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
But I'm saying, I think that would have, dissolved. At least would have gone down a lot better than where we're at right now. So that was killing me in the moment. But anyways, to Dylan's point, Dylan's 100% right. The rule was not kept to. It was wrong. It should have been 3 minutes. Now I happen to know the 3-minute rule, and regardless, I said, 2 minutes only because I wanted to, like I said earlier, give them, I know it might not seem like 1 minute makes a difference, but in overtime with timeouts and fouls, 1 minute.
It was a 2-minute overtime, and all that was scored was 2 points.
This is the most simple thing. Okay, yeah. Let's just make it clear here. The other team was absolutely deflated after I hit a very crazy shot. Not something I could probably recreate that easily, but I could hit that type of shot. But the other team was deflated.
By the way, props to Harrison, who I think had 5 or 6 threes and was on fire. I think he had the second most points scored in the game so far this season.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll bring it to the next game whenever that may be. But, right now I'm living in the city. It's hard to get to all these games. I'm going to be moving to Queens in December, so I'm going to be part of, hopefully, the softball and basketball league. I am better.
Rumor has it you're a chassan. Is that true?
Yeah, getting married in December.
Big mazel tov.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So, I mean, this is just the facts, and there's really no way around it. The other team was deflated. They were in the heat of the moment. I actually liked Tabak. I went to Queens College with him. I knew his brother Michael for a while too, from camp. They were pissed off. They're screaming, "Let's play! Let's play!" I hear the commish say, "We are going to lose the gym. It's 10:20. I got to get back to the city." Another one of our teammates, Margot, had to leave also.
He got whacked in the head.
Once I heard Kamish say this game is a tie, I said, okay, in football there's ties. I understand in basketball there isn't ties, but this is also, a Jewish league. We're not playing for an NBA championship. And,
not yet, Harrison. The way you've been shooting, though,
I know. And let's be real here, and I hate to say it. You replay a 3-minute overtime after what just happened, and they just scored 2 points without 2 of our starters. They're not winning the game. I would have stayed if it was an earlier game. I had to leave. They're not winning, so they should be thankful and kissing Dylan and my feet for even giving an opportunity to even play any other minutes on the same court as us, because the game would have been over. And a tie is a very fair agreement between two teams. If it affects down the line, okay, we could figure something out. But, I still think a tie, just like it does in the NFL, a tie is a tiebreaker. It's basically a tie is as good as a win. And, in this circumstance, I'm willing to take a tie and just let the outcome happen. If we don't make it because of it, it is what it is. I'll be back next year. I'll be at all 8 games instead of probably 2 more games the rest of the season, and it is what it is.
So let's just clear the table here for a second. So that's the perspective of the Fly Vipers, right? They say let's take a tie, both get a tie. We'll get hopefully if it impacts them negatively, great. Positively, great. CTC's not willing to accept. I'm just spelling out where we're at right now. They don't want to tie. They think that doesn't make sense. They won the game.
They didn't
Like,
want to tie
said,
at the end of They didn't want to tie at the end of regulation. So it's the same.
You can't bully yourself into.
No. I'm just guys. I'm not arguing against you. I want to explain for all the thousands of viewers we have, and more importantly, seriously, for the guys playing in our league, both sides of things. That they're the same way right now. Dylan's team, the Vipers, will not take a loss. Right? They're refusing to take the loss. CTC's refusing to take a tie. They're saying the second they got on the court, they won the game. They want to keep it a win. And like I said earlier, we are working on a solution that I think makes sense for both teams and for the rest of the league. Because you have to keep in mind, let's say we give both teams a win, right? Both get a win. Then one of these teams will get into the playoffs over another team when they got to win in a game where both teams got to win. Like no league has both teams getting a win.
You make it a tie. Now there's really no excuses because now it's like if you didn't have the same amount of wins, it's like who cares? Like you were behind them anyhow. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I understand your perspective. I really do. I understand their perspective too, and that's why there's got to be. I'm happy right before we got on the podcast, they reached out with a potential proposal, which I won't announce now because until anything's official, I don't want to have our community or our basketball captain chat blowing up about it. But I think it's fair, and I think it'll make people happy. I want to confirm with Tabak and with Dylan and make sure we're 1,000% on the same page so we can go ahead with it. But I think the important part about this podcast, and Dave, you could tell me if you disagree, is I think it's very important in leagues in general when these things happen to sort of, not necessarily publicize it to the whole world, but it's important to have conversation about it, right? You don't want to have these things get snug under the rug and people are pissed for the next 3 months and it's a bad taste in their mouth. Like it's important to let people, I guess, air out what they're feeling and sort of, I don't know. I think having a podcast is a great platform to bring it to everyone else. David, do you have any thoughts on that or any opinions? Am I wrong?
You're hanging out with me and you're hanging out with your wife, who's also a therapist. I think you really imbibed the therapy Kool-Aid of talking out all the difficulties.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just think it's better than me on the phone with this captain, on the phone with that captain, and then he's screaming at me, and he's screaming at me, and I'm screaming at both of them, and we're screaming together. Like, it's good to talk about these things and get everyone's perspectives. Honestly, I think it's too soon. Maybe not. But, like, I wouldn't be against, having Tabak on the podcast. Like, I might get a little rowdy.
I thought it would be fun. I actually thought it would be. I was going to suggest it to Dylan this morning, and I thought Dylan was going to be like, hell no.
I wouldn't care. I don't have a problem with Jeremy. He understands Mike. We spoke about it.
I got the sense though that I got the sense a little bit that you guys felt like the other team was sort of bullying you guys and bullying Avi into continuing the game.
They put us on
Harrison,
the spot. They were not
Harrison, what were you going to say?
I left. The first thing that I saw, I'm just making it clear to everyone else that wasn't at the game. The scorekeepers left. The person that's closing down the gym said, "Get these kids out of there. I'll keep it PG, just so no cursing." I have a fiance that says, "Get your ass to the city. I want to go to sleep." So I have all these things going on. I see my teammate, whether it's a foul or not, it was a foul, but they called it, and Margot was, in pain. And Avi, actually, who's a good commissioner, I've been in many basketball leagues. I think Avi did a great job yesterday. I think the only thing that should have happened at the end I would have done different, and again, it's the first season, is stick with your gut. You said, this is a tie. I don't want to lose a gym. That is it. I saw Tabak screaming on the top of his lungs. I left initially. I pulled my car actually right out front of the gym. I didn't see anyone leaving. After the scorekeepers left, I said bye to the refs. Yosef said, great playing, good game. So in my mind, it's over. I come back in just to see what the hell's going on. Everyone's still talking. This is after 5 minutes. Everyone's still talking. I'm like, what is going on? We called it a tie. We lost the scorekeepers. You don't have the amount of fouls like you lost me. I'm not playing. Margot's not playing. That's our starting point guard. I mean, this is just a total disaster. How is this not a tie? And I don't know what else to say. And also, just all the momentum. If you watch sports, I don't care if you're a hockey, basketball, baseball, football fan, you get a game tying buzzer beater shot to tie the game. That team 8 or 9 out of 10 times is winning the game. So
You
it's
know,
like,
Dave, you know what I'm thinking? I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm gonna forget this in a second. I would love, and I know, with our new popularity of the HSL podcast and people dying to come on here, which is actually, which by the way, not exaggerating.
I only had to ask Dylan 10 times. Yeah.
Right. Dylan only had to beg, but everyone else is dying to come on. I would love to have.
Not that easy. I'm not that easy.
I would love to have Tabak and Blisco come on, and because these guys, Harrison and Dylan, they're making fantastic points that I don't think I could refute or argue against. But I wouldn't mind to have Tabak and Blisco on and have them talk their side, and let's see what the league thinks. I'm very curious to see, because again, like, having Harrison and Dylan on right now is great because they're very, 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 I think, very well getting their point across. Much clearer than I ever understood before. When Harrison was just saying about the scoreboard going down and the momentum and not having track of the fouls and all that stuff, that could have made the difference. Let's say somebody fouled twice, but we didn't know he was supposed to foul out, and he could. These are all valid points that I personally didn't get across, but it could be Blisco and Tabak have theirs also that right now we're not hearing because we're only hearing one side of things. I think it's great. I'm
Is Zalman on that team too, Avi? Is Zalman Pollock on that team also?
Zalman messaged me after the game, and Zalman wasn't messaging me about. He was actually messaging me about something else. But the first before Dylan called me before anything, the second Zalman messaged me right after the game was over. He wrote to me, what do you write? Brutal. 10:58 p.m. Right after I got into my car out of gym, brutal. First match I get ready with Zalman Pollock, brutal.
All right, let's
won,
switch
officially, technically.
Let's switch gears for a minute. Harrison, how much longer do we have you for? I know you're on your lunch break or something, right?
Go back to court. So I have like 5 minutes.
You have 5 minutes, so let's talk about you guys a little. What's that?
I have
10 minutes. 5 10 minutes.
All right, so let's. I have 15 minutes, and I didn't want to. We like to introduce our teams, introduce our captains. People, you guys would be surprised. People watch every podcast. Hundreds of 200 people watch every podcast. It forms like a community kind of feel. So I want to talk a little more broadly about you guys and about your team. Each other.
Harrison knows from experience. He's got his own podcast.
Is he really?
Well, okay, great. What do you do?
All right, so I'll make it quick. So I've been interviewing professional sports athletes on Riverside, which I like this platform a lot. NBA, MLB, football, and a little bit of UFC. I've done over 450 interviews. So I get, cute little interviews with, like 15-minute interviews with NBA players, MLB players, NFL players, UFC. I've talked, just to name a couple, basketball, because this is a basketball league. I've talked to Rick Barry. I've talked to Daniel Gafford. I talked to Gabe Vincent during the finals run with Miami Heat. In MLB, just to drop a couple names, I've talked to Andrew Jones. I've talked to Brent Rooker, who's, a really good player.
Yeah.
And I just, even if it's, most of the guys I talk to are bullpen guys or, bench bats. Some of them make it, some of them don't. But I always get an interesting perspective on, the MLB or NBA that an ordinary person doesn't get. So
why don't you plug your podcast? What's it called? Where can people find it?
It's Outside the Stadium. One word on Instagram. I think we have over.
Oh, you're Rosen's partner. I didn't realize you were Daniel
Rosen's partner.
Rosen.
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know that. That's so funny. Okay, cool. I never put that together.
Yeah, same. I clicked right when you clicked for me, dude.
So, well, I do that. And then for basketball purposes, I've been playing basically since I was 4 or 5 years old. I had I would call it a year and a half hiatus because I tore my Achilles in a very big game, a playoff game in a different league. I tore my Achilles 2 years ago.
How old are you? How old are you, Harrison?
28.
28, okay.
So I tore my Achilles. Took me a year to it took me like 4 or 5 months to walk again normally, and then without pain and running, and the mental aspect, which is the NBA players are telling the truth. It takes a lot of time mentally. Even though you could run on a treadmill, it's hard to run full speed on a court. Took me like a year. Then I joined a different league. It was Avi Barron's league. I don't know if you're familiar with that one in the city.
Avi Barron, is he Barron from Muncie or no?
I don't know him well, but I know he's the
I think he's from Jersey.
Oh,
He's
okay.
from Jersey.
I joined his league. My team made the playoffs. We lost, I think, first or second round. And then I got my foot under me, played a different league, had a good team, and now I'm here. I've always been a good shooter. I played, step it up. I semi got recruited to play Division III at YU, but did not go to YU, so that's why you don't know me from YU. And being realistic here, those kids are a lot better than me. They would wipe the floor with me in a one-on-one. However, I solely got recruited because I'm a shooter, and I didn't want to go to YU to be a bench warmer and come in when you need a three-pointer at the end of the game and probably play 5 minutes a game at most, even as a senior. So I just declined that offer, went to Queens College, and just played in leagues like this.
In this fall, he's taking his talents to HSL.
Love it. And then in the after you guys make your you win 5 of the next 6, come back, win the championships, you'll come back and repeat in the HSL Winter League when we have 12 teams.
I will be back in the Winter League. This is just try to get get familiar with the league.
Right.
I'm probably gonna miss. I'm being realistic here. We've only played 3 games. I'm gonna miss probably at least 2 or 3 more because it's just I have wedding stuff going on. I have a bachelor party going on. So
you gotta just play 3 to qualify, and leave it up to your team to get into the dance. Once you're in the dance,
yeah,
anything can happen, right?
So that's what I'm hoping for. But I'm coming full blaze in that winter season. I'll probably be at all 8 games, and hopefully me and Dylan can recruit a team that is a championship caliber team. If it's not this one.
So I was actually speaking to Dylan. I'm curious, Dylan. We'll get to you just 1 second, Dave. I know we have a tight deadline. I'm very curious. So Dylan, I brought this up to you briefly, and Harrison, you could address this also. I don't know what your take on this is. I would love to have 2 tiers. I want more competition for everybody. If I make a second tier, are you guys going to be like, oh, we don't want to go to the lower tier. We want to bulk up and get to the higher? Because in softball, it's a big thing. In softball, it's a big difference. There are teams that want to play lower competitive ball because more of a chance of them winning a championship. And there are also teams that be like, what the heck? I want to beat the best. I want to get as good as we can get and try to beat the top guys in the league. I'm curious what your takes are on that.
Yeah, so simple. 2 tiers is good. I never played in the lower league in any league, but it's good for people that aren't, playing basketball so much to be in a league that they can be competitive and potentially win. I was going to say in regards to our team, I think regardless of I don't know how the rest of the season's going to go. I just know I'm going to be missing games. We've had, I think, Margot missed game 1. We have a lot of guys that are, moving around and missing.
Yeah, in and out of the lineups.
Yeah, so regardless, we're going to be in a top league. If I'm there, I'd like have more control over a team, so I'll try to get better ball players to make the team even better than it is now. But regardless, this team's going to be if there's 2 tiers, we're going to be in the top tier.
Love to hear that.
Dylan, so shifting to you, how do you know Harrison?
He and I went to Queens College together. Took a lot of classes together. He's also good. He's also friends with Judd.
Part of that Chabura.
Yeah.
One of my groups of friends. That's like Queens College crew.
So how has your experience, notwithstanding last night, I think I know the answer, Dylan. Your experience so far with the league has been on a scale of 1 to 10. I might call it a 2.5.
It's a little rocky. I think you just gotta as a commissioner, you got to stick to your guns and play, by the rules. And if you're not going to play by the rules, then why have rules?
I think you also felt that the reffing was very inconsistent.
I don't know if you care about.
Our previous game, which Harrison missed, was a very physical one, and nobody was giving any technical fouls when there should have been. And there's no point in having, a category of technical fouls if you're not going to call them. And just to get, hold on, Harrison, to get perspective from a ref, he said, they're paying for the league. I can't just throw them out. That's not really an answer.
Which ref said that?
No names.
First, one of the refs wasn't even there, so that was there last night. So
I just want to have one remark based off that. I'm not giving a rating of the league yet. I've only played 2 games, so it wouldn't be fair. But I think one of the
after you see your highlight of your game tying 3 at the buzzer, I think the ratings will go way up, Harrison.
Listen, I'm going to expecting. I don't know many people in the Queens League. Everyone knew me in the City League, so I'm happy. That's my goal. I want to make the playoffs here. I'm gonna try to win the championships, obviously, but I just want to give respect so that people know my name, and I'll be there next year. Obviously, I'll be in the Winter League. The only rule I would say and it hurt both teams. This is not just something my team. I try to be fair as an attorney. Also, I try to be fair. The rule that only the captains can call timeout doesn't make
That's being changed, Harrison.
Yeah, because I'm giving a play yesterday.
Because I could be on the bench and there's a jump or they have the ball.
I'm just saying it doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't matter. This is not just show anything. But I'm getting scratched and clawed at on the ground.
We have insurance, Harrison. We have insurance. Don't think about suing us.
I'm screaming timeout, and I have the ball. It's clear as day. I have the ball. Kids are scratching, pulling, pushing me. And the fact that I can't call timeout, the refs aren't listening to me call timeout, which I've never had in my life. I get pushed to the ground. My back hits out of bounds. It did hit out of bounds, but no foul call was made. My timeout way before this happened wasn't called, and that that was with a minute and 15 left. We got an out of bounds call against us because I was pushed out of bounds, getting scratched out of bounds, and I can't call a timeout before all this happened. That to me was one of the most infuriating plays I've had in a while. I wouldn't say ever. I've gotten too mad a couple times, different things.
At the HSL,
just to touch on the refereeing, I didn't know you have some talented guys that have X-ray vision and can see the other side of the court and see that someone's foot's on the line when it's not really out of bounds.
Dylan is bringing the salt. Dylan is bringing the salt today.
I think might have happened, by the way. One ref in the beginning.
That was like 3 possessions where they called out of bounds, and it wasn't.
Refs can maybe get jealous. One ref at the beginning of the game called a cross-court call, and then the other ref at the end of the game called 2 cross-court calls. Maybe they just wanted to get back at each other,
I'm very honest. There was a play, someone beat me to the basket. It was one of the only plays he did beat me to the basket, but he did. And I shoved the living hell out of him. I'm being honest. My 2 hands were completely on his back. He went flying against the wall.
I saw that play.
It was 100% a foul.
I think I actually had the play in video.
And no one called it. I'm like, why would I? I literally went to our bench. I went to Dylan. That's a foul on me. I shoved him. No one called it. I mean, the reffing just has to be better. I admit I 100% fouled him. There's literally clear as day foul. But, that shouldn't happen. That should be a foul on me. And, this should be a foul on them. I mean, there's a lot of missed calls. I think that they have to touch up on that. But I understand they're probably rookies and trying to get familiar.
Just to clarify, one of these, actually both of them have been reffing a little bit. They basketball is a tough sport to ref, and especially when you deal with competitive guys who want to win, and a lot of calls, a lot of close calls. You have to get the right angles. It takes time. Not an excuse. They should be as good as they can, but they are human like the rest of us. But we appreciate and we like the feedback, as I can guarantee you both refs will be watching this podcast. So hopefully they don't get too insulted. Hopefully they take it as positive criticism and constructive criticism. I think that we all want we're all on the same page. So we want the reffing to be the best we can be, and also understand they're humans and they're going to make mistakes. What else?
And then I'm jumping off after this. I reward hard work and I reward good reffing. I will give a shout out to Yosef. He is a good ref. Not so sure about the other guy. On that note, good luck to everyone. And
Mic drop. Mic drop for Harrison.
Good luck to everyone else.
Thanks,
all right,
Harrison.
Dylan, I got to bounce in 2 minutes. You ready for 5 questions?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Knicks or Nets?
Bro, it's an easy one.
Start you off easy.
Let's go.
Cat.
Let's go. Nets.
Cat, baby.
Let's go.
Dave's not a basketball guy.
Yeah,
Carl Towns got traded to the Knicks.
Carl Anthony. That was the biggest trade. Except I don't like that they gave up.
Yeah.
I don't like that they gave up Dante DiVincenzo. But
everyone's saying that, by the way, and that makes no sense to me. We should really
so
talk more basketball on this podcast. Yeah, he's but DiVincenzo didn't even come off the bench, play 18 minutes. He's a game changer.
He had the most threes, in a single. I mean, he had 280 threes.
Yeah, we can talk about it. It's a conversation to be had.
All right, best ball handler on the Fly Vipers.
Margot, easy.
Best shooter on the Vipers.
Harrison.
Best defense on the Vipers.
It's a good one.
Listen, there's a reason why the Vipers haven't given up 70 points. I forget. I'm just joking.
I would say it's a hard one. Avi Gottlieb.
Avi Gottlieb. Okay, two more. Who you taking in a big game? Annie's Kitchen or under 5'10" Pipe Doctor?
Under 5'10". Look, they might be under 5'10", but they're in shape, and they've been
They
playing
won a
probably since.
fantastic right before were you there at the end of that game?
Yeah, I was. It was crazy that Caleb Holland, he had a crazy no-look pass. But they're in shape, and they've probably been playing together since they're in nursery school. So I would call that as cheat. I would call that cheating, but you know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Last question: who's a better commissioner, Avi Edelman or Adam Silver?
Easy. Avi Edelman. He just got
there we go. All right, before we go, Dylan, can you tell our audience about your product that you make?
Why are you putting me on the spot like that? It's an indoor dribbling device that allows you to practice your ball handling inside. I will say that my ball handling got worse because I'm not using it. So,
what's it called?
Yeah.
What's it called? Where can people find it?
It's called Dream Dribble, and we partnered with Tim Hardaway Sr. 5-time
very cool.
NBA All-Star
Dylan
and Hall
and
of
Tim
Famer.
Hardaway are boy. Dylan and Tim Hardaway Sr.
I was at his
boys.
Hall of Fame induction.
Was this product ever
2000.
advertised? Was this product ever advertised anywhere that people may know about, or no?
Yeah, I mean, it was. When we had product, we were on NBA TV. They promoted it with Tim Hardaway. It's on Fox.
Why don't you have product anymore?
Manufacturing is a difficult business.
So I wanted to get one for my son, Avi. Dylan, you've seen my son dribble.
You could still get one. I'll get you one. But
you don't think he's ready for it yet, though?
What?
You don't think my son is ready for it yet, though? The Dream Dribble?
I think he's too little.
How old would you recommend this a boy to be?
Five, six
HSL
year old.
youth. Yeah, 5, 6.
Yeah.
We should get a couple for our HSL youth, Dave.
Yeah, we should give them out. Give them out to the winners. All right, Dylan. Thanks so much for coming on, despite the difficult circumstances. Hopefully, next time I won't have to Venmo you $6,000.
Avi knows I'm an easygoing guy. Yeah, Avi knows I'm
Dylan
an
is very
guy.
I'm
not a complainer. If we're gonna have rules, let's play by the rules and not just make up rules as we go along. That's all.
The first week of the season, Dylan was easy with moving his game time to accommodate another team. There's no arguing that Dylan is an easy go and chill guy.
We could have cheated and said, "Oh, we got the win" because they couldn't make it to their Sunday game. So we played. They wiped the floor with us. It was fine. We accepted defeat. Now it's time to be fair for us too. That's all.
All right, boys. We'll talk. Bye.
Thanks, guys.